Okay, well, my last video was being processed. I just added a select element here. So in the HTML, just a paragraph with a select element with white and gray. The ID is cell color. Okay, and that's just because we want to be able to select, and when I click, whatever's selected will show up. Okay, so let's go to our main.js, and actually I don't think I want to go here. I want to go into my grid.js. And what I'd like to do is, and this is the beauty of this create element here, is I have this div element, and I can do a bunch of stuff like add classes to it before I add it to the page. Another thing I can do is I can add a event listener. So each of these div elements, I would like to have an event listener so that when I click that div, I want to do something to that div. I want to set its class, basically. Okay. So let's add some comments here. Let's organize this. Create a div element for each element in the 2D grid. Add the appropriate class to each div element. I also want to add an event listener to each div element. So I can just go div element.add event listener. We'll listen for the click event, and I'll have a function called cell clicked. And let's define that function down here. Function cell clicked. Oops. Okay, and because this is an event listener, I want to have an event parameter because I want to get some information. And what's pretty cool about this event thing is there's a property. I'm just going to print it out. Event.target. Okay, and that will allow me to identify which div element was clicked, because there's 100 div elements. How do I know which one was clicked? Well, this event.target, right, the event listener, the click event listener here, when it calls cell clicked, will pass in the element that was clicked. Okay, so let's open up our console here, adjust this a little bit. Oh, didn't even need to adjust it that much. Okay, so did I save this? Let's see if this works. Click. Okay, cool. It was this div right there. Click. It was that div right there. Shows as the class gray. So every time I click, it's this event.target will be that HTML element that was clicked. Okay, so what I'd like to do then, I guess, is this. I want to set the color of the clicked cell is the main purpose of this function. So we know event.target is the click cell. So now I need to get the get value of select color select element. Let color be assigned. What was it again? Cell color is the ID. Cell color document.get element by ID cell color dot value. Okay, and that should return either the value white or the value gray, because that's the options I have here. Okay. Now let's do an if statement. If color is equal to, actually, you know what? First, I'm going to clear the class list of the cell. Yeah, let's do that. Event.target class list is assigned the empty string. So that's just a simple way to say, hey, this class list, because I don't know if it has gray on it or not, I'm just going to say, let's empty the class list. Empty cell class list. So I just want to clear it of everything. And then just like up here, I really only need to check if it equals 1, because the default should be white. So here too, I only need to check if color equals gray. Then event.target.classList.add gray. Okay, and if it doesn't equal gray, if it equals white, I can just leave it. Because I've cleared the class list, it should be by default white. Okay, update clicked cell based on selected color. So we empty it and then we update. Okay, and then do I need to do anything else here? I think just by changing the classes, it should do it. See if it works. It's the beauty of programming, right? I can just give it a try. So let's change this to gray, and hey, look at that. Event.target, adding the class that's gray. If I do it on something that's already gray, technically, I guess what happens is it's clearing the class list and adding gray again, which is kind of redundant. Maybe I could have checked if it had the class, but you know, this is simple. Let's go to the white now. Of course, on white doesn't do anything, but on here, yeah, awesome. Okay, so now I can build myself a little bit of a maze, right? And say, oh, no, don't want to do that. Let's get rid of this one, get rid of that. Beautiful. Okay. Lots of things you can do with this, right? This is hopefully some good start code for you to play around with. Oh, hold on. We've got a problem. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, this is actually huge. I almost forgot. If we look, okay, let's go gray and let's create this. Oh, sorry, let's go gray. Make this here. And let's open up my console. And if I type out grid, right? Remember, that's my global variable in here, my grid, which was this whole array. Let's see what this looks like. So it's an array, wonderful. 10 by 10 by 10, beautiful. But what do you notice? The numbers do not line up with what's currently displayed. Okay, so when I'm clicking, this is great. I'm updating the classes, beautiful. But the data structure, right, this two-dimensional array does not match what's being drawn. So when I click and I update the classes, I also need to be updating this data structure. And it's important that you be like, why, right? It looks good over here. But if I'm doing like a collision detection, like if I'm actually having a player that's trying to walk along the maze, I'm going to check these cells for their values and say, hey, is there a wall there? And if there's a 1, there's supposed to be a wall. And I'm like, no, there's no wall there. Okay, it has to match up. Okay, so let's do that. We can do this, I think. All right, let's give myself some more space. Oops. All right, here we go. Give some more space, and let's see what I need to do. So what I need, okay, might be something new. I don't know if we've done this before, but what I need to do is whenever I click, I need to know what row and column I clicked, so I can look up the row and column and set the value here. Okay, so in order to get the row and column, there's something that is called a data set. HTML elements can have a data set. Basically, you can just go into a div here, and you can go like data-row equals something, right? 0. And then later on, it's like almost storing information inside of this element, and later on you can pull that information. You can just look at the data set and get the row property. And you can add as many things as you'd like. Well, maybe there's a limit somewhere. So what I'm going to suggest is when I'm creating this div grid, when I create these div elements, I'd like to add those data properties to it. So let's do that. So add data set values for row and column. So I'm going to go div element dot data set, and I think I can just go dot row is assigned row. Okay, and that should create a data-row property with the value of row, which is, right, this loop that I'm creating, 0, 1, 2. Okay, because my row and column are storing, yeah, where I'm at. So div element dot data set dot column is assigned column. Let's save that. If I open up this and go to my elements, oh dear, let's make this bigger. And let me shrink this. Okay, in my div here, You can see, awesome, all these divs have data row 0, data column 0. 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5, etc. 1, 1, 1, 0, right? So it's added the row and column. So each cell is now storing what row it's in and what column it's in. Awesome. How does that help me? Well, that helps me because when I am in here, right, I can get, get the value of this. I'm going to get the row and column of the clicked cell. So I'm going to go let row be assigned event.target. So event.target is the click cell. I'm going to go .dataset to access its dataset, and I want to look up the row property. I'll copy and paste that and change row to column. Okay, so that should get the row and column. And now what I'll do is here, I'm going to go grid row column is assigned 0. So this is set. So it's kind of just like this, just like I'm clearing the class list. I just want to clear the grid as well. Set grid to white. Right, the 0 is for white. And then if so I'm going to assume I'm going to empty it out so it's white. I'm going to set this to 0 so it's white. And if the color is gray, then I'll add the class list and I'll go grid row column is assigned 1. Okay, so the algorithm I'm using here is basically let's assume it's white, and if it's not white, let's make it, add the class and set it to 1. I think that should work. Let's try. Okay, let's do a refresh on this. Is that what it's supposed to look like? Yeah, my row of 1's there. Okay, good. Let's open up the console here because I need to check what's what. So right now, if I type grid, everything should match, right? We've got all the 1's there, 1, 1, 1, break, 1, 1. Yep, looks good. Okay, so let's start changing things. Let's actually just get rid of this entire row. Maybe we'll get the whole bottom. Sure, let's try that. And now if I've done this right, and I type grid, and we look at it, it should have now updated, and we now have a match with what is being shown and with what our data structure is. Okay, so like I said, really important because we want to be able to look at this grid and figure out, hey, what's the state of what's being drawn, right? It's a lot easier to look inside of here with our rows and columns to look in the data structure. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. That's pretty good. We've now got this working, right? I can click and I can draw with the 2 colors, so I can build some walls and we can build some sort of a grid, some sort of maze. I can make this an art program, have different colors and make it like a pixel art program. I think I will maybe do one more video where we'll add a player that can move around the grid. I don't think I'll do like wall collision detection, but just get something moving around and see how we can do that. Okay, hope that made sense. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.